good evening. Welcome to the Heat Army podcast. I was turning that up a little bit on my ears. Yeah, fantastic week for Gateshead Football Club. Two fantastic wins, two outrageous goals, and one commentator making a fool of himself. But I'm sure we'll get into that later on. So Gateshead find themselves 6 points clear at the top of the National League North table. You couldn't ask for anything more at the moment. Just got to keep this momentum going, and we'll be talking all about that. Just before I speak to Mickey and Mark, please like and subscribe. The subscribes have went right up. Thank you to everyone that has interacted. We've had a lot of new viewers. We've spoke to them on a match day. They've come up to us and introduced themselves and said they like the show. So a big thank you to you. You know who you are, who came up and spoke to us. I say just keep sharing the show, and hopefully we can get more people involved. And I say when we're playing like this, that's the time to do it. Get people hooked and hopefully coming along on a match day, because that's what it's all about. But Mickey, Mark, have you recovered from yesterday yet?
I've recovered from the game, not your scream.
Count yourself lucky. Mark had headphones on. He had it in stereo.
I did. I woke up with them ringing in my ears this morning still from that. But no, if you're going to
stop letting them sleep in your bed.
It was, do you know what? If you're going to celebrate, at least make it a goal like that. So, unbelievable strike. I think you'll do well to see better in the National League North this season. Never mind just at the International Stadium.
I mean, I'll obviously last night we, if anyone who's been living under a rock, beat Farsley Celtic 3-1 to go 6 points clear top of the National League North table. We haven't got the highlights of that yet, but we'll just take a little step back to Saturday. Of course, a good win over Spennymoor. Hard fought game. I'll play the highlights in the background here.
Turn the sound down.
I've got the sound off, don't worry. Also, so just where we're on it, Jack McGragan, if you look at the highlights now, I think this was the first one he's done with adding in his footage from the sidelines, and it just really adds something to it. Just a shame someone got overexcited on the goal. But I'd say a little bit like last night, it wasn't a performance where we overrun the opposition. We had to grind it out. We had to work hard and, take our chances and, but a fantastic win nonetheless, and it keeps the pressure on everyone below us.
Definitely. I mean, Saturday, could argue that Spennymoor had more chances than us. I mean, on another day, Taylor might not net a hat-trick, but he didn't. And at the end of the day,
you've got to take chances. Obviously we've been, guilty of creating lots of chances this season and not maybe putting a fair few away that maybe we should have. But football has a way of leveling itself out sometimes, doesn't it? And the penalty, it was a penalty. Obviously, I think there's no complaints about that really. And Gateshead found themselves on the back foot, but grew into the game. It was one of them games where Spennymoor came and really disrupted us. They got in the players' faces. They knew how to stop us from getting into our flow. And the equaliser obviously will be coming up very soon here behind us on the screen. Well worked, and very similar to the goal against Blythe, the three strikers linking up again and just creating a bit of magic out of nothing.
I think
one more.
the thing is, every team that wins promotion or wins the league title in any league, you win games like this because you find a way to win, and I think that's what Gateshead have done really well. Yes, they can do the pretty football, they can get the ball down and play with purpose, but what they do and what they are doing at the minute is finding a way to get through games. And as Mike Williamson said to me last night after the game, they are developing as a side, and every challenge that is put in front of them, they are overcoming one way or another. I think looking at last night, it was kind of similar. For half an hour, Farsley sat in and tried to frustrate and work really hard. We said that 3 or 4 times, Dave, in the commentary, that really I don't know if enjoyed's the right word, but appreciated just how hard Farsley were working to put Gateshead players under pressure on the ball. But again, Gateshead found a way to get through them. Really, I know the kind of build up to it wasn't great, but the first goal, the ball from Campbell, the first touch and the way to the pass was perfect. Good finish by Kedwin. you get a good start the second half, and then they have to come out a bit, and it just made things a bit easier. Gateshead started finding space. I have to say, I thought, and to use Mike Williamson's word, he described Owen Bailey as a colossus to me, and I think that's not too far short of being bang on.
I mean, like ever this season, it's hard to pick a man of the match. Of course, goal scorers get the plaudits a lot of the time, but I think last night in particular, I said it a few times, and you did as well. The centre back pairing of Magny and Story were phenomenal. Story, we said it so many times, he's very similar to Mike Williamson, the way he runs with the ball and the way he thinks and calmly distributes it, but he's passing as well. It's not just the short passes. He can pick a pass out across the pitch, he can pick one out over the top. For want of a better analogy, it's like a quarterback at the minute. You've got him there, and he finds himself into midfield with the ball, and then it just adds the numbers forward for us, doesn't it?
It does. Dave, your footage has got a bit blurry there, mate. We've just missed that goal if you want to put it back. But look, I think Louis Story for me is someone who, when he was signed, there were a lot of questions. And I think, let's not forget he was playing Northern League football last season. Yeah. And that, with no disrespect to Northern League, but it is a big jump to move up to the National League North. But he's answered all those questions, and if he doesn't mind me saying, he's answered them pretty emphatically because he's been so consistent throughout the season. And the thing with Louis is, and I don't even mean on the on-field stuff, but the way he looks after himself off the field, the way he conducts himself off the field, his mentality, his approach to not just the game itself, but the training, he fits in with the ethos that there is at Gateshead, the ethos that Mike Williamson and Ian Watson have brought to the club and instilled in the squad, and he's bought into that. He's for me, he's an integral part of the squad now. And I don't just mean in terms of a starting lineup. I think even if it was Williamson and Magny, Story would still have a massive role to play off the field as well. But I think I'm so pleased for Louis because he's such a good guy, and he's someone who looks like, and I said this quite early on, Dave, I think it was Geisley on Bank Holiday Monday in August.
Yeah. And
I said that, for me, Louis Story already at that point, bearing in mind he'd played 3 games, I think, looked like he played in the National League North his whole career. And he's someone who I think, hopefully if promotion is achieved, he's someone who will cope at the next level as well.
Yeah, and as I say, I mentioned Carl Magny there as well. His best game since he's come back. Obviously, he's come back into full-time training, and at centre-back, he looked solid. He looked have a good communication as well with Story, and he was also as well carrying the ball forward and picking out passes himself. So it wasn't just a case of Story going forward and doing it. They were, spreading the ball all over the park last night and picking out some of the passes to the top men through the middle of the park. The vision was beautiful, the way they held it up as well, just all round. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's a joy to watch at the moment. And even when it's a battling game, it's enjoyable, isn't it? You just feel like they are going to keep plugging away.
Definitely. You fall a goal behind and you think, "Ooh, bollocks" is normally the word I use, and I'm paraphrasing there.
Yeah.
And but you always feel as if they've got a chance of pulling it round. The thing with Gateshead, will always give someone a chance.
Yeah.
But that's the joy of it. It's just, the front four take most of the plaudits, don't they, really? You've got that amount of goals again, but there's so many other players have been excellent this season. Tinkler, I rarely see Tinkler have a bad game.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, me and Mark we had a conversation after the game, and Tinkler, for a right back, he's very accomplished at the back, and he's great going forward, but he's like an extra midfielder there. Same with Story, the way the adaptability when they carry the ball forward, it gives the team the freedom to have the movement of the forward players. When you've got the likes of Story coming into midfield, Tinkler coming into midfield, you've got Matty Jacob who can win a header with the best of anyone in the league on the left-hand side. There's so many dynamics of when Gateshead move forward into the final third. it doesn't matter what position they're in. You know that player is very capable of producing the goods of either getting it into the box or getting on the end of something.
Do you know?
Yeah. Sorry, Mark. Can I just cut in before you jump in
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
We haven't even mentioned Greg Ollie or Dan Ward in that neither.
Yeah, well, they say Owen Bailey was the player I was going to mention as well. He's the one you see him getting on the end of balls. He's putting balls into the box. The adaptability, and that's what we said all year of this squad, and it's showing that on the pitch. It's not just of results, and someone can come in and play left back if needed. The movement throughout the game is continuous, and we've seen that with Campbell last night. He found himself on the left, cuts in, scores a screamer. He was dropping deep, as was Macaulay Langstaff and Kedwin Scott. It was the synergy of the team, just the way they move about it's a joy to watch, and you can't watch it all at once because the movement is that much.
I think you should stop calling Campbell's goal screamers, mine, because
I was thinking that myself.
Just on that note, we've got this message here. Dave Shaw knows how to fake an orgasm.
I was sat beside him. I'm not sure that was a fake.
I don't think it was fake either.
No.
Thing is, just before we go forward, on that note, my wife was very embarrassed and she went, "It's too real." The noises that I've made, and I was speaking to Kedwin Scott's mum, and she turned around and said, "How does she know what Dan Ward sounds like?" So I was like, "Yeah." So yeah, she rinsed me there, but yeah, but no, I'll get excited on they were two unreal goals, and it was just pure emotion that comes out. But yeah, but back to what you were saying there, Mark.
I mean, what I was going to say is just pulling it back to Robbie Tinkler is that, and I hope this comes across the right way, you never really consider him as a man of the match, but purely because he's made, I don't know, excellence the norm. He's I don't think I've seen him have a bad game this season when I've been there, and
he's a solid 7.5 at worst on his worst performance, isn't he? In a game, you know what you're going to get from him, and that's.
I think from the last time he was at Gateshead, he looks as if he's improved defensively to me. There was never any doubt about him going forward, but he looks a lot more solid. And there weren't really too many times when he did get done defensively last time he was there, but he just looks like he's improved that side of his game. And I love the balance. I think Mickey said there with Matty Jacob on the left as well. Two very similar players that are good going forward. They're powerful, they're pacey, good defensively, and it works really well. But again, and I think I praise him every time I come on here, but I just thought Wayne Bailey was absolutely exceptional last night. He kind of gives you something that other players in midfield don't really have, apart from maybe Jack Hunter. Where he gives you that protection in front of the back four. But what I like about Owen is he can adapt his role to what's going on in the game. So if he needs to get further forward, he's comfortable going forward and driving into the opposition. If Gateshead are under pressure, he'll sit and protect the back four. I just thought last night his intelligence on the ball, his work rate off it was just exceptional.
Yeah, and just going back to Matty Jacob, that cross he put in the first half when he danced past, it was just unfortunate that no one could get on the end of it. I think Kedwin and Macaulay came in, but just couldn't get a touch, and that was one of the best balls I've seen whipped into the box this season. It was fantastic. Just before we go any further, we're just going to I'm just going to play a message from our sponsors, Northern Print Solutions. We're obviously very thankful because without them, we wouldn't be able to broadcast on this platform or bring you the match day commentary. So if you would like to follow them, we still need to make a new advert. I keep saying that all the time, but we will. But please give a follow to our sponsors, Northern Print Solutions. You'll find them on all social media platforms. Well, we've got a message from Scott Ryan. The gaffer is key. Build a foundation and spirit over 2 years and continual improvement. Well, we actually touched on that, Mark, in commentary about how the club just didn't switch off when the season was curtailed last year. They stayed in training, worked on things. They knew how they wanted to go forward. They had a plan for which players they wanted to bring in. They got the business done very early. We talked about Tinkler, the forward players that were brought in as well. and it's paying off paramount, isn't it? They've drilled in what they wanted out of this squad into the squad of the players that they wanted to keep.
They have. Obviously, I know it says Gaffer, but if I can throw in Ian Watson in as well, because he's every bit as key as Mike Williamson. Ian probably won't like anyone saying that, because he likes to just sort of get on with work in the background as much as possible. But when I look at the partnership they've gotten through Louis Story and Chris Bellin, as well as the rest of the sort of management team, coaching staff, it's a solid team. They all get on, they all work together. They're all working towards common goals, which is massive. There's no agendas there. The only agenda is a joint one that they've come up with together. After the game last night, I was stood in the tunnel waiting for Mike, and one thing that always strikes me when I come to Gateshead, when the players are coming out of the dressing room, there's just no egos. There's no disharmony, or no hint of any disharmony. Everyone's in it together. They all seem like decent lads. And I think it's not very often you see that, to be honest. There's always one or two in various dressing rooms might stand out and
Have a smoker.
Yeah, just have a bit of an ego about them, but I don't get that at Gateshead, and I think that's what's probably helping them through these games that we're talking about, where they are either going behind or that things aren't going their way. They're in it together, and I think that's possibly just been said by someone else, that there is a spirit there that is getting them through games, and I think it's going to take them very close, if not all the way to either promotion or the title, or both.
Yeah, I would say we've got the message there from Arthur Brown. Apart from the obvious ability, it's the resilient side, never say die attitude. And I think I spoke to Mickey the other day about how you just believe that this team is going to keep on fighting and keep going in years gone by. I think actually we spoke about it either on air or off air last night, Mark, about last year we played Spennymoor. I think it was the last game before the season was curtailed. Gateshead just didn't have that kind of fight in them, the resilience to bounce back from going a goal down, and it was kind of went out. Obviously there's still a lot of them players still involved, but we kind of went out without a whimper at times. Not through lack of effort, but I think it was just the change that's happened has really turned that attitude around, and the belief is a massive word in that team.
I think
confidence as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely have confidence. Yep. Sorry, I was just having a drink of pop there. Gordon's asking if the phone lines. You know what it is? The phone has fell down behind here, my spare phone, and I haven't pulled it all out yet. So that's why we haven't got it on. Just want to talk about the season so far. We can send us a message. We'll do that. Mr. Lucas put Kidderminster is going to be a massive game on the title race as a whole. It certainly is. But they've got games to play. They're going to have to play 2 games in a week soon. Gateshead's got a little bit more of a calmer run in, as long as weather doesn't affect it. And they're going to have to work hard to catch us, and that's the thing. We've got the points on the board, and hopefully, they struggle to catch us. Liv Walden, she's put proud to support the club. Fantastic. I think everybody is at the moment. And Mark, you give us some skills last night of reading foreign messages live on the commentary. Do you know what that is?
Yes, it says Vorred.
Well, there we go. We appreciate the message anyway, but maybe if you could put it through Google Translate, that might help us. I think those 2 goals from Kedwin, now he's top scorer in the league. I think he might be, yeah.
Well, it's 3 joint, but it on goals per minute. That's why Kedwin's top.
Ah, right. Is that what it is?
Do you know, when we're talking about style of play and what I noticed, particularly last night and in the York game when I was there, and the Spartans one to an extent, was I think sometimes last season and maybe the early part of this season there was a few grumbles when they were trying to play out from the back and trying to keep the ball and holding on possession. Without many people might think they were getting nowhere with it, but they were, because the manoeuvre and the defensive side around. But last night I didn't get that. I think when they were playing out from the back and the ball went into midfield and it might have went back again, there was no sort of get it forward. I don't think I heard any of that.
No, there was a patience and an appreciation, because I think everyone now, they've got confidence. I shouldn't say expectation. They've got confidence in the side that they can pull it back. It's not the the end of the game falling behind early or midway through the game. They know that they're going to keep going. They're going to keep plugging away, playing that system that Mike Williamson, Ian Watson, and the other coaching staff have drilled into them. And speaking to Dan Ward when we had him on the commentary, he said, we just believe in what we're doing. We believe in what we're doing. We just got to keep doing it. It doesn't matter if there's 9 minutes left or 90 seconds left. We keep doing it. The chances will come, and the goals for doesn't lie. That they do come, and sometimes you think we could come out of a game winning 6 or 7 goals. It's going to happen soon. Touch wood, that we do give someone a spanking, because the amount of chances we create, one day they're going to sit up for it.
But looking after the Fylde game, the season could have imploded on the back of that.
Yeah.
But the reaction to that defeat has been near perfect. You look at it, it's 4 wins since that game. And that speaks a lot about the resilience and the spirit in there. Because honestly, it would have been easy. I've seen it happen before, where teams lose comfortably against title rivals or promotion rivals or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wheels come off. But Gateshead have gone the complete opposite way.
And add into the mix a new goalkeeper at the back as well. That's had to come in and be comfortable with the ball, just like the keeper before him. So, it's another dynamic that's been overlooked, because the attention is up the other end of the pitch, isn't it? Because we've kept a few clean sheets, and, bar the bit of a scrappy goal that was let in at the end against Farsley, and the penalty, which was, it was a penalty. He had to come for it though. He's been near perfect himself. He hasn't been tested that much, and when he has, he's pulled off some good saves. He hasn't had to make world-class saves, because with the defense has kept
scary moments and all.
Oh yeah, the keep ups. Yeah, that was quite confident, lad, wasn't it?
One on Saturday where he was left short by a back pass.
Yeah,
but he's a young kid. He learned from it. That's the good thing.
Well, that's why he's here, isn't it? Obviously, very confident in his ability, Aston Villa, but they need him to get minutes under his belt. And look, every goalkeeper is going to make mistakes the way Gateshead play. It is going to happen. With the ball at the goalkeeper's feet as much as it is, and it's going to happen. It'll happen. It doesn't. Name a goalkeeper in the world that doesn't have a fumble at some point in the season, maybe 2-3 times a season. Something's going to go wrong for a keeper. It's the worst position in the world for a mistake to happen, because it's not forgiven, in midfield or up front. So, but no, you credit Philip Marshall. He's come in and he's to me, I was a little bit nervous at first. His first game, obviously, it didn't go too well, but since then it's been all right.
Well, it helps when you've got 11 decent players in the positions.
It does.
To be honest, that's the top bottom. We've got 14, 15 really good players there who fill the positions, and when they play well.
I certainly do. And we touched on it last night as well in the commentary, Mark, that there's still more players to come back as well. And last night was a big positive. Well, we had 5 subs on the bench, which is always nice to see. I mean, thankfully we haven't come up short. I mean, we've always had enough to cover substitutions, but it would take a bit of rejiggling if we had to do that. But no, it's hopefully you would just think things are starting to go our way. But there's some big games. Brackley away, Kidderminster at home. I'm trying to think who the other one is as well. All of them are tough games. None of them
at home as well.
Yeah, none of them are a given. And Dalton, of course, just proven themselves very capable going down to AFC Fylde. They've done what we couldn't do this season. If we went down there twice and got beat, they've went down there and got a result.
Twice now, haven't they?
I think they have, yeah.
I think looking at the league as a whole, and I always say this about the division, because we've seen a lot of results this season that we didn't see coming. It is the sort of division, and this might help Gateshead in a weird way, where if you're not at it, no matter who you play, you can get turned over. If the attitude's not right, and I think I said this last night before the game, if the attitude isn't right, you will come a cropper. You look at again, talk about last night, Spartans beating Southport. Southport hadn't lost a game at home all season. And then Spartans go there, not in great form, beat them. Darlington haven't been in the best form, go to Fylde. I just think it's remarkable that you get results like that at this higher level in non-league football. And as I say, because of the attitudes at Gateshead, I don't think they'll have too many days like that.
Yeah,
I think the attitudes, the kind of professionalism of them, and I don't mean in terms of professional status. I mean the professional outlook of the players will get them through tough games.
so we've got a message from Cow Daily. How far the club since we nearly went out of business has made my bottom lip go a couple of times this season. I take a plot line from a better film, a belter film, sorry. But look, that's how far we've come. We're not talking about them days, obviously we'll not go into it, but the club is looking forward now, very much looking forward, regardless of what happens this season. The club is looking forward, and that is just a marvelous thing, isn't it? In the short space of time, and obviously the pandemic thrown into the mix as well. It's quite remarkable, really.
That's what I was about to say there. The fact it's been achieved during a pandemic that is, cut off revenue streams behind the scenes. It's, forced fans to watch from behind streams. It's remarkable that everyone is as together as they are, and things are moving forward in the way they are. And massive credit to people behind the scenes, by the way, because there's been a lot of hard work done by people who have on at the club now. There's been a lot of hard work ongoing by those who are still there, and I think the club will go from strength to strength, no matter what happens over the next 2 months.
Definitely. Well, we've got a message from Scott Ryan. He poses a question. He's what more can we do? South Shields pulls in more attendance than GFC, top of the league, great match day experience, yet numbers are sporadic. Look, let's look at it. We're averaging over 1,000 for the first time, nearly all season. Right, when it plays out for a long time. South Shields have been on the back of some tremendous seasons and big players there, and geographically they're not as close as to Newcastle and Sunderland as what we are. Well, they're probably quite close to Sunderland than us, but we're on the doorstep of Newcastle on Tyneside. It is always hard to pull in people, but the way things are going, you want to build it slowly, get that fan base gripped in. Of course, the club will probably want it quicker. Of course, want more money in, like any business. But we're building an organic fan base here. That's what you want. You don't want it to have 4,000 overnight because you're top of the league, and then you lose a game and they all disappear. We want to build, and I think the club's doing it in the right way, and they're building into the community, and the amount of youngsters on a match day is fantastic. You mentioned last night as well, the work. There's many people at the foundation doing amazing things. But James Rushmore, you've just got to look around the stand, around the stadium, the amount of sponsors, the amount of partnerships that's come in. It's just phenomenal, and hopefully it's just the start of things to come. And if the dream is achieved of promotion this season, I would imagine there'll be more comes on the back of that, and hopefully more in the stand.
I would agree with that.
I was saying last night when I come out. Sorry, Mark.
That's all right.
I come out the ground yesterday. And you're talking about 10 years ago, on a Saturday, the 800 would have been a bloody good gate for us.
Yeah.
Never mind on a midweek. And
well, look exactly
800 on a midweek game.
That's what I'm saying. You look back at the fantastic stuff Graham Wood did at the club, but the crowds weren't there, unfortunately, for the amount of money that he put in, and that was probably ultimately why he felt it was time to pass the club on to somebody else. And no criticism of his reign, but things are being done different now, and maybe in a macabre type of way, the demotion might have done us a fantastic thing in the long run. Reset things, reset the attitude of the fans as well, because we've been reliant on we had Richard Bennett come in, put a lot of money in. We know what happened after that. But the fans have been quite happy to have a money man there, and fans, I'll admit, Mickey, a lot of fans have just been happy to turn up on a match day and not do their part. And at this level, you can't really do that. And now there's that mentality in the fans, in the stands. We're talking about mentality on the pitch. The mentality in the stands has changed for the better as well.
It's just total different. It's a breath of fresh air walking into that football club now.
Well, how many volunteers? There's so many that I can't name them. I don't even know whose names of some of the volunteers now, which is a good thing. It used to be the same people over and over volunteering each season. There's a plethora of people there in the cafe when you walk in, on the concourse selling tickets. that work. It's just raised the bar for the fans as well. What's happened ultimately, it's working out in our favour now.
I think what I would say is after the sort of difficulties of a few years back, I think there's a rebuilding of and a repairing of relationships going on now, and it has been for the last. The pandemic's made it difficult, but certainly since supporters returned to the stadium, and businesses start to get themselves back to some sort of normality, I think you're looking at that relationship between the football club and the supporters in the local community, and the football club and local businesses, which we shouldn't forget were damaged by what went on before the takeover. That's what's going on at the minute, and that isn't going to happen overnight. It's a slow build, so it may well be a case of, at the moment, it might not look great that South Shields are getting to 2,600 last night, where Gateshead don't get into four figures. But you know what? It'll build, and it will build as the club builds itself. And you've got to think, when the owners came in, the new owners, they literally had to rebuild a football club near enough.
Had to not only the football club, they had to rebuild relations with the community and the town itself.
Yeah.
That's
what I mean. That won't just happen. That's going to be something that needs to grow itself. You said it, Dave. It's got to grow organically, and it'll happen. There's good football on the pitch that's looking after itself, and it's in the capable hands of a group of management that are doing a great job. And there's another group behind the scenes doing the same thing and making things grow. I don't think I've ever seen Gateshead have so many good links with businesses and so many adverts in the program, and so many ground boards being sold or partnerships being agreed, and that's going to help it grow as well. It's all part of a process.
Mm-hmm. Well, so talking about organic, we've got here Taylor Howie brought his friend along to his first game. He come away absolutely buzzing. He's looking up the next home game already. That's what it's all about. That's what the podcast's all about. We want to get people involved, and if they listen to the commentary, we always say, fantastic you listen to the commentary, but if you live local, it's better at the game, it's better in the stands. And the way we're playing at the minute, then you don't want to miss it. You do not want to miss it. Mr. Luxembourg Kidderminster will hopefully get some people into the ground. It's a big game, yeah, you would imagine so. And obviously, I don't know if they've got a midweek game. I think they have in the build-up to that as well because of the FA Cup run. Colin Scott has put, odd that we often cause ourselves more damage than the opposition causes us. Sometimes we've had a few slip-ups at the back, haven't we? But I think that comes with the style of play as well, doesn't it? But players have got to stay switched on for 90 minutes. It's one of them things, but what's a game without your heart being in your mouth? It is entertaining. We've got this team, when they turn on the style, they're going to dig in deep and get the results. Certainly do. James Gowland, the man who's been trying to send me viral, thank you very much. Not in a good way. The atmosphere at Gateshead Stadium is much better than the atmosphere at South Shields do. They pass the ball to death. I haven't been down to South Shields in many years, so I can't comment on that. Obviously, we're talking about Gateshead, but South Shields, they're riding the cusp of a way of many promotions, some big players along the line, and they've buried themselves into the community there, and that's what you've got to do as a small football club now. And as I say, there's many clubs doing it around, and hopefully Gateshead can continue to go. Right, we want you to follow our social medias. This is how you do it. Before that, do that our new website. It's still a work in progress, but if you want to bookmark it, we put up all the advertisements for shows, and Charles Waff, I think, is going to be giving us some pictures, so we'll give him a page on it as well to put all his stuff up. The Heed Army podcast mugs have been ordered. They should be here next week. They're going to be £7 each. We'll keep you posted on that. And we want you to subscribe to all the social medias, and this is all of ours. Well, there you go. That is all our social medias. Please do. And also as well, a massive thank you. we've had a real bump in of subscribers. We're not doing it to make money. We're nowhere near that kind of thing, and not enough views either. But it just helps us to hopefully spread it about on the analytics. We want to get more people involved, and it seems to be working because we've had people telling us that they watched for the first time and enjoyed it. And Mr. Luke, he's put going to South Shields match against Nantwich with a couple of mates. Boo! I hope you enjoy it, but not be as good as Gateshead.
I'm there Saturday as well. So.
But obviously just looking forward to the next two games. Telford away, never an easy place to go to, and the last time we played them, they weren't, I mean, they were down the bottom, but they weren't the worst side we've seen at the International Stadium, and they've picked up a few results since. It's going to be tough, but it's going to be a game we're going to have to stay switched on, and I'm sure the lads will do when they go down. Sorry, Mickey, what did you say there?
That's if it's on.
I know Gateshead's been very fortunate, of course. That's how we've managed to accumulate the 6 point gap at the top, because obviously Brackley have had their last two games called off. I don't know what the weather is for this weekend. Hopefully it's all right and the game is on. But yeah, I say Gateshead's been very fortunate on that front with fixtures. Has been decimated throughout the non-league pyramid this past couple of weeks, but hopefully you can get it on. But I say the thing we've got to hope for this weekend, of course, Gateshead turn up and hopefully get a result. But a little bit of luck of a team below us slipping up would be the icing on the cake this weekend, wouldn't it?
It would be, but I'm not sure the fixtures. I'm sure on Brackley got someone like Farsley.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure on the fixtures this weekend, but I think I looked at
all Gateshead can do is look after themselves. And I said this on the commentary last night, Dave. If they win every game between now and the end of the season, they win the league. That's
it's that simple, isn't it? And
I wouldn't call it simple, but yeah.
I mean, we've got 14 games remaining. They're ticking down fast. These results have kept coming, which is unbelievable to have ourselves in this position. But if you are looking at another team higher up the league and you see them go 6 points clear, and other teams have got games in hand to try and catch them, you'd always rather want to be the team with the 6 points in hand, wouldn't you, rather than the games in hand? Because anything can happen. And look at Kidderminster. They lost one of the best defenders the other week, who's been instrumental in their run of form lately. Touch wood, we don't get any injuries, but anything can happen in these games, and we've just got to hope that luck stays on our way with the hard work.
Just looking at Saturday, I just got the fixtures up there while we're talking about it. Kidderminster go to Farsley. So the thing with that is, and you look at what Farsley did when they played Gateshead at home. When Gateshead really had to scramble. You never know. It's a tricky one going down there. Brackley at home to Bradford Park Avenue. So that again, you'd expect them to win. Yeah. You'd expect both teams to win. But
although Bradford have picked up in recent months as well, so that they're not the Whitman boys that were at the beginning of the season. So, as we said all along, there's no easy games at this level now. It's anyone can beat anyone on the day.
It's Brackley's defence. I mean, we absolutely tore them apart here. I don't know if they had a rethink about the way they defend, but so many clean sheets this season. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's that's what gets you up the top of the league, isn't it? Clean sheets and goals. But yeah, we spoke to Jack, the Brackley fan, many a time, and I'm sure we'll get him on before the end of the season. He said that they're just, that they're very solid. That's the way that they're playing, and you can't ask for much more. Obviously, we've got a bit more goal threat, but if you can keep your back, as tight as it is for Brackley, then it's going to go a long way as well, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I'm looking at the goal difference in the league, and Kidderminster's is nigh on the same as ours.
Yeah.
They're scoring goals for fun now.
I know. It's going to be an exciting run-in, isn't it? That you can't deny that. It's but
the gap's opening, like, for the
it is. I think it's the fourth place, 13 points behind. I think something like that. So
we spoke about this last night. It's so Filed on 47. So you're talking 16 points to Gateshead. That's a big gap at this point of the season.
Yeah, so you would say it's between
the top 2 games in hand, but there's still going to be 10 points behind for them 2 games in hand.
Yeah,
to be an unreal one. We've got Brackley versus Gateshead and National North. So is the game, the season for sure. It's going to be a tough. They're all going to be tough. They're all going to be tough. Also as well,
target on Winnell, aren't we? Really, everyone wants to beat Winnell.
Definitely, it's not something you're too bothered about really when you're up there, as long as we get our results. But that we mentioned the goal difference, so I mean obviously Kidderminster's got theirs, but even if they won all their games, they're still behind us, I think by 1 point. But that goal difference is just as good as a point, isn't it? At the minute, if we can keep on scoring, a couple of goals a game or winning by a couple of goals, the margin it just going to extend any further. I can't see anyone bar Kidderminster catching that goal difference.
As I say, Gateshead have just got to look after themselves, and that's what they'll be being told. Don't worry about what Kidderminster or Brackley are doing or filed. Just focus on yourselves, and get your own game right, get the attitudes right, and try and win as many of these remaining games as possible. Because if they do, they're not going to be too far away. And even if it isn't a case of winning the title, make sure you get one of those top 3 places.
Well, Colin Scott has put away days have been brilliant experience so far. That's fantastic. I haven't been able to do it. Actually, I tell a lie. I've got to the Mask away. I haven't been able to do any others. Hopefully, who knows, Chorley away for the championship celebrations.
Championship fancy dress party.
Oh yeah. Also as well, I did mention the Heat Army podcast mugs. This is the design that will be on the mugs. As I say, we'll hopefully be getting them soon. We did receive a tweet today about the under-19s as well. They're doing absolutely fantastic. So thank you to Herbert for sending us the message. It highlights that Gates under-19s beat Grantham 3-1 in the National League Cup quarterfinals. Eddie Thomas and Reese McLeod were the goals. Terrible conditions, but Clarkey and the club, they did the Clarkey and the club proud. If you fancy giving it a mention, yeah, they're doing absolutely fantastic. And that's another player as well that we spoke about, Connor Panny, who came on last night and looked probably the most comfortable I think he's looked since he's come on. He's passed the ball really well. But Eddie Thomas, another exciting prospect there, scoring goals in the under-19s, but also scoring goals for Crook.
Oh. Wayne Blackett's out, I personally would have called Eddie back. Unfortunately for me, I'm not running for Gates of Football Club. So.
Yeah.
Fortunately for everyone else, though.
But it's another exciting prospect.
I get sent off every other week for shouting at the ref.
Yeah. But
as well, I should say as well, Reece McLeod, who scored twice today, he's doing well in the Northern League. He's on a dual reg at he's at Wrighton and Crook Albion, I think it is, and he's got a few goals this season as well. I think I'm sure it's Wrighton. So there's a few of the Gateshead kids out as well. Lewis Leach obviously came on last week. He's at Jarrow, doing well at Jarrow. So using that sort of dual reg to the benefit and giving these lads game time at a good level. And Eddie, I mean, I've spoken about Eddie before. I think he's got a real chance of making it. I think he's got all the attributes to be a very good striker. His next step will be interesting. Assuming Gateshead go up and assuming they keep hold of the 4 strikers that they've got now with the 4 forwards, what's Eddie's next step? Would it be to go to a Northern Premier League club? Obviously, went to Dunstan, didn't quite happen for him, but would a club in that Northern Premier League East be willing to give him a chance of being their number 9 for the whole season? Because I think if they do, then he's got a real chance of progressing to what we want him to be at Gateshead.
And also, as we spoke after the game, Mark, the amount of clubs to pick from in the Northern Premier League and the division below as well, because of the progression that's been made from the Northern League in recent years. There's so many clubs and so many clubs doing well. I mean, Shildon, Mask, Stockton, they're all doing well. Hebben, they're holding their own. They've had a lot of injuries this year. Dunstan, they're doing right in the league above. Morpeth. There's so many clubs, and then you can look a little bit further. I don't know if Eddie Thomas can drive, but you've got Whitby, you've got Scarborough. The amount of clubs on our doorstep that where, if it's the right fit, it's fantastic for us for development players.
And you're going to have 2 more going up this season. Well, possibly 2, definitely 1 going up into that East Division. So, Concert sat with a big league lead at the top of the Northern League.
Yeah,
would there be an option? I'd imagine someone like a North Shields might join them. Depending on whatever the situation is with promotion. So there will be options. But But I just think Eddie he needs another year.
He's a rough diamond, but he's got the speed, he's got the strength, he's got the size. It's just about polishing that all up, isn't it? Obviously, without putting a lot of pressure on the lad, he's just an exciting prospect, and he seems very level-headed. He's always sharing stuff from the podcast as well, so it's nice. So if he's listening,
that's the reason you're saying it, Dave.
Yeah, gotta get them subscriptions and likes, Mark.
Look, at just going back to Conor Panny. I mean, I didn't really know a lot about him, but someone at the club sort of mentioned him early in pre-season and said, he's one to keep an eye on. And I remember being at Heaven first pre-season game, and he was just exceptional that night. Looked like, you expect this young kid to turn up, but he just looked like, because he's a big physical lad, isn't he? And he was just exceptional that night. And I think there's patience needed. Let's be honest, there's a lot of competition in midfield. It's probably Gateshead's strongest area, I would say, looking at the amount of options they've got in there. So there'll need to be patience on both sides. But I think there's a real potential there about him to become a regular at Gateshead at some point. He will have to develop with the club. If the club goes up, all of a sudden the standards go up. But players often flourish when that happens. Better players around them. You look now, he's training with the likes of Greg Ollie every day, and just that'll bring him on as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I say, I thought yesterday when he came on for that cameo, he just looked a bit more. He had a bit more composure about him. He passed the ball well, and just he came in. There's like for like. Well, it wasn't like for like because he replaced Kevin, wasn't it? And but no, he passed the ball well, and just as I say, he just looked a fit. Didn't look like a youngster coming in there. He just looked like a player of the level, which is you can't ask for much more.
Welfare cell as well. I mean, he scored for England colleges the other week.
I know, I didn't get to mention that. Yeah, he's been involved in that setup for a couple of months now, which is fantastic. And you'll be getting experience from that. There'll be good players in that. They're not just going to pick them out of hats. They've got to be showing something to be selected for that team.
If I can just pick up on something slightly, well, it's kind of similar to this, but so Gateshead are getting a reputation for developing players through the system and getting them in around the first team environment. Again, mentioned Lewis Leach making his debut last week, but what they've also got a reputation for now, and it's certainly grown, I think, is when you look at going back to Brad James coming in and the impact he made, Ainsley Pears coming in. I think Gateshead now are trusted with younger players by clubs further up the pyramid, because they know they're going to be coached the right way, they're going to be looked after the right way. You look at Aston Villa sending a player to the Northeast to go on loan with Marshall. I don't think that would have happened before this sort of management team came in. I think it just shows that they are making an impression far beyond the Northeast, and that speaks volumes, and it'll make it continue.
I mean, another thing I would hazard a guess that Gateshead's being noticed for as well. We've brought in players that have dropped out of the under 23s at local level. Of course, Owen Bailey was the recent one. How many times have we seen a player in the Northeast drops like a stone to the Northern League after being released from maybe a season in the Northern Premier, Blythe, Spennymoor? It hasn't worked, and they've dropped down and never to be seen again. I don't want to mention any players' names because I don't want to discredit anybody because they've went on to have good careers in the Northern League. But they've worked with a player that's confidence was probably very low. He spoke in a lot of interviews with yourself at the beginning of the season. He had a lot to prove. He had a torrid time of injuries at Newcastle, but he's we'll talk about character. He's knuckled down and he's made it work thus far, and that's got to be noticed as well by other players in the academy setups around, because he'll be known. He was captain of the under 23s. They'll be looking, well, hang on, he's went on to do that and doing really well, and if promotion's achieved, then it makes the club just that little bit more appealing, doesn't it, to be at a national level?
But this is kind of a two-sided thing here. So firstly, when a player gets released, it's about the mental recovery from being released. And Greg Ollie, funny enough, it's 2 years ago today since I did a piece with Greg Ollie on his release from Newcastle and from Hull as well. So he suffered it twice. But also, there's got to be the right attitude and the right culture at Gateshead to allow young players to flourish, and that's what's happening. Chance to train with the first team, they're being given that environment to recover from the mental what's what I'm looking for hit that they've taken in being released. And I think with Owen, you're saying that, but a lot of it comes down to him as well. By the way, he's a strong character. That's not underplay how much being released hurt him, not at all. But he's
effectively having all your dreams ripped apart, isn't it? If you're a team especially at the top level, Premiership team, you're on the cusp. You're a couple of good appearances away from potentially getting on the bench or even in the team, and to have that wiped away with the contract just took away, and then all of a sudden you're in no man's land. It would be horrific, especially for a youngster.
But you look at what he's done this season. So he's played his first full season in senior football. He's played in the FA Cup proper rounds for the first time. He's played in a live televised game in the FA Cup against a League One club, and didn't look out of place. By the way, I think I said it on the commentary that he was possibly Gateshead's man of the match that night.
Yeah.
He's someone who is he's a great example to players it'll be happening over the next 2 months or probably in the next few weeks. Players that will be notified. There's no contract here for you next season. Owen Bailey and there's a few examples at Gateshead, by the way. Jack Hunter's another one. Greg Ollie's another one. Louis another one. There is another route into the game and another way. And Gateshead are a great example of a club that they're probably one of the best examples around of what can be done with a player being released as well. Because again, we're not mentioning them, Dave, but there are players that have come out of Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough and gone into other clubs in the region, and it just hasn't happened. And I think it's because the culture wasn't quite there.
Yeah, it does seem to be a big part of it, doesn't it? Well, we're getting towards the end of the show, everybody. If you'd like to send any messages for predictions for Saturday's game at Telford, please do send them in now. Please do like and subscribe. We've had a lot of people doing that, and also not just to us, follow Gateshead FC's social media, the foundation, Gateshead Away Travel, and also the Gateshead Soul. And also as well, the Gateshead Inspired team as well. They're looking for support. They're still trying to get to the Costa Blanca for the international tournament. So there was links on Instagram I've seen and Facebook today. So please do give them a go. Liv Walden, she's sent in a message. She's saying 2-1 to Gateshead at the weekend. Well, I'll accept that. I'll take 1-0. I'll take 5-4. I'll take anything at the moment. So yeah, but Mickey, I'll put you on the spot first. What's your prediction?
2-1, because I keep saying nils and we keep letting this stupid one in. So
yeah, I think I'll go with 2-0. I think we'll keep. I think we'll stick with.
Fair, but I'm 2-1.
I think we'll stick with the same back four on Saturday. Mark,
Gateshead win. I'll go 3-1.
Yeah. I think it's hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll give the last message to Mason Ford. He's put I actually missed the loans from Middlesbrough. We brought up 3 top quality players in on loan, and look where they are now, especially Pears. Well, Pears could potentially be a Premier League goalkeeper next year, as Chapman as well, because both teams, Huddersfield and Blackburn, are in the playoff positions in the Championship. So yeah,
Brad. Is he still just kicking about with Middlesbrough's young'uns?
I'm not sure. Didn't he go out on loan somewhere in the National League?
Yeah, he had a spell with
Aldershot.
Yeah. I think with Brad, he can't underestimate how big a player he was at Gateshead and how well he did at Gateshead as well. He was excellent, and I'll go back to that game in the playoffs down at
Brackley.
Down at Brackley, wasn't it? Of course. And those penalty saves, I mean, that'll go down in Gateshead history for that. Yeah. Just amazing. But yeah, still in around Middlesbrough. And I think someone that will probably need to get out of there and get a club fairly soon. And
apparently he's recovering from a knee injury at the moment.
Right.
I think so, yeah. But on that note, thank you very much to everyone that sent in messages. Mark, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for giving us your time. Mickey, always a pleasure, and we'll see you next week. And if you're going down to Telford, have a safe trip. Hopefully the weather's all right, and come back with the 3 points. And we'll be speaking about it next week on the show. So we'll we've got one here from Joey C. Agnew. He's put, cheers, lads. Well, cheers for sending us a message and tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.